Welcome to part 2 of the interview with JR the Handler. On the show this week, we take a deep dive into music. From JR's start within the industry, the early touring days with Wayne Mills and John Party, and some of the Handler's musical influences and favorite acts. Check out tigsbits.com for all of the latest news and videos on the show. And keep it up, guys. You've really been engaging with the show on social media, and it makes doing this a whole lot of fun. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. It's really helping to grow the show. Thank you all so much for that. Now, I would be remiss if I did not take a moment to acknowledge the life of the last founding member of Lynyrd Skynyrd, Gary Rossington. He is responsible for, as JR says in this show, the soundtrack to our life. If you grew up in the South, Lynyrd Skynyrd is ingrained in you. That sound, those licks. Oh, absolutely. Give Me 3 Steps, Sweet Home Alabama, Tuesday's Gone. I mean, I can go on and on. I'm so grateful that I got to see him play. Thank you so much for the timeless memories and for some of the sweetest licks ever recorded. The last Freebird has finally flown home.
I listened to your podcast with your other guys. You're pretty savvy on music. You like a lot of music too, don't you, Tig?
I love music, man. Absolutely do. I know that we have I've discovered a couple of things in doing a little research on you. Besides our common denominator with Blasi, you love Widespread Panic. It looks like, yep. And I heard you mention Drive-By Truckers. Now I know our paths are going to cross on every single. Right. Just about it. I think we're going to hit on all cylinders, but those are two biggies for me.
Yeah, I'm bigger Truckers fan. I'm a big Panic fan. I like Panic. I'm not as crazy as our other friends, but I'm probably Allman Brothers if you had to do that. But the Truckers, as far as bands that changed my life, I actually got to take a band that for a brief period there. I worked for a band called the Dexatines right after Wayne Mills and I split up, and we went and did shows opening for the Drive-By Truckers for a few weeks. And I'd already been at these parties in Tuscaloosa with everybody playing the 40 Watt Live, the 40 Watt DVD, and it really didn't click. I mean, I thought it was cool. We were, whatever, it didn't click. But then the first night we played like the Music Farm in Greenville, South Carolina, sold out house, 4-hour rock show, man, changed my life. I was like, that's American. That's just pure aggressive American rock and roll. That's as good as it gets. It can't be stopped. That's it. That's as good as it gets. And Shauna and Jason were divorced, but still in the band together. And we're backstage. So I mean, I'm getting like I'm in Almost Famous for a minute. You know what I mean? It was a trip.
You're right.
But it was the show and the music would just change. It changed because that was before that. I'd only done really local kind of stuff and this and that with country, and that was rock and roll. And that was huge. Yeah. So that is as far as modern bands, that's probably my favorite modern band there is. But and then when you go to classic, like you're talking about, I heard you say Big Zepp, which I love Zepp too. It's one of the ones that got me down the path that led me to the band and Little Feat and all the just every the Leon Russell and even the Randy Newman and the Meters. I mean it goes wild and crazy. All over the place, even down to like. The Kershaw brothers from Louisiana, and I was listening to Dr. John earlier, and I know Professor Longhair, and all that kind of stuff. So the few genres that I wouldn't, I like everything, but the few genres I wouldn't be able to keep up a conversation with much would be like alternative music. Just never. I know I was there. I remember them. I know a lot of the names of the big bands, but I really don't know their stuff. Early metal, yes. Later metal, no. And then just like newer pop stuff, I wouldn't know. But, as far as jazz, blues, country, rock and roll, back as far, and it's any little finger link off that. Because even rap, like I said, we're from the 90s. So, I mean, that stuff. But even that, I tailed off later on, and a lot of things tailed off. Like I don't listen to a lot of new country or new rock and roll because there's really, to me, what I'm looking for is not out there for me. So, it's just the evolution of what I want to listen to. Because I always tell people music's like the soundtrack to your life. It's what's in the background while you're doing whatever you're doing throughout your day. So in my life just doesn't require a lot of like heavy aggressive music. I don't lift weights and stuff, so it's like I'm more jazz, chill, I'm more Miles Davis these days, kind of stuff. Talking about music, I like it all, like I said. But again, A lot of people pigeonhole it just as country because I work in country music, but I mean, I like all types of music.
Which is interesting that you're more like you're like us, that you'll listen to it all too. What got you to country music? Like, what got you from Wayne Mills, and we haven't even discussed this part yet, but you were the tour manager for John Party for what, 3 or 4 years when he was starting out. I mean, of course he's a monster now for sure, just like Justin Moore is as well. But but what got you from Wayne Mills and this kind of bluesy, rocky, southern rock kind of deal to country music?
Well, country was always there. I mean, I grandparents from rural Mississippi, and growing up in Eclectic, country right near where Kalijah, the song Kalijah is 2 miles from where my house was, and even then my grandparents just always, one set of grandparents was country all the time. One set of grandparents was NPR public radio all the time. I always liked the country, they used to dress me up in my little Justin boots and my bandana on my little 3-wheeler and stuff. It was just my granddad dressed like Burt Reynolds. I still wear his belt buckle now.
That's badass.
He had the Trans Am. He dressed just like that era. I was born in 79, so it was the early 80s. That was still, it wasn't shag carpet anymore, but it was Burt Reynolds with the shirt and the.
I was born a year before you. I was born in 78.
So that look. Everybody had the sideburns. It wasn't afros anymore and big perms, but it was, Anyway, so country was always around. I always liked country. It always sounded cool. I had the one, early on, you remember like Randy. I remember like our like Randy Travis and, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But then the biggest thing that happened was in high school at some point there, mid-teens, end up on a dirt road in Elmore County, and somebody pass you a little brown bag and with a brown bottle in it, and then just seems like Hank Williams Jr. just comes out of the woods and starts playing Country Boy Can't Survive, and it's like from then on it's like that whole trajectory. Because Hank Jr., if I had to pick one artist of any artist to go on an island with their catalog of records, I'd probably pick Hank Jr. Just because he's done
not a bad one.
He's done so many records. He's put out so much music. You'd have a big catalog anyway, and he's done several different genres and stuff, and his voice changed over the years. So anyway, Hank Jr. on that dirt road, and it being a big part of teenage years on back roads. I mean, because everybody at every dirt road party with a bonfire sang along to Hank Jr.
Oh, absolutely. That's the case, I think, anywhere in the South. That definitely happened where I grew up. And of course, the same time, being the same age, you had your Tracy Lawrences and your they were coming up. That 90s country, George Strait, of course, was
Chestnut.
Rolling at that point in time. To Chestnut, dude, I love Mark Chestnut. All those guys. Yeah. Hey, that's my country jam.
Same.
It's the stuff I grew up in Little Florine, Louisiana, that has I think there's 300 or 400 people is the population. We're a little Class B school, very rural as it gets, and that's the lifeblood. There is country music. It's not just a song. It is a way of life. Like, the songs that are made in country music are the songs that are made by people that live there, are written by people that are from there.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, and when I'm in the mood for country, it's like I'm in the mood for country, and I play this artist or this artist, but then there's a whole different genre where I say I need to play some Hank.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean. It's like it ain't nothing else like it. And back to your point with Hank, I mean, I remember being about what was I, 12, 13? And for Christmas, I got in my stocking, I got the Born to Boogie tape, and I got my little Walkman deal tape before it was a CD Walkman. And I remember I woke up at like 3 in the morning, walked in there, creeping around, started messing with that stocking, and I found that tape, and I found that Walkman, and then I went and laid in my bed, and I had that thing memorized by when everybody woke up by 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:38, I've been listening to it all night, man, over and over, dude, just singing every song with it. It was so good. That's such a memory. It sticks with me, dude. But Hank, I mean, it's Hank. You know what I mean? It's like you got rock, you got southern rock, you got country, you got Hank. You know what I mean? He's just by himself.
Bocephus.
Oh, he's so good. He's so good.
If you don't believe him, ask him. Hank, yes, sir. Bocephus is here. Yeah, he is a character. I've been lucky enough to be around him a handful of times, and my assistant tour manager also works for Hank's tour manager. He does the same role over there for Hank's camp, so I get some good inside stories and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And but yeah, he is absolutely a rock and roll country music legend and icon. And I mean, but you think about there ain't many like that have been a star their entire life, came from royalty. I mean, you talking about the few rare mega stars in our, we talk about the Michael Jacksons and the these and the that. I mean, Hank Williams Jr. is right there, as to not
sure.
live under his dad's thing and actually exceed everything his dad did is just. And his own way, pretty much his own way too. Like Chad said, he didn't care what he did, whatever the hell he wanted to. Still does, and it's still selling out everywhere he goes, just like he says.
His own path.
They'll be making movies about him 50 years from now, 100 years from now. How the cycle of movies and things like that go with biographies, all that stuff. Man, I haven't seen one on him yet. Does one exist?
Oh yeah, there's a couple not good. There's a couple not good ones. Oh yeah, there's one from about oh man, there's one from the early '80s and I mean it's not great. It's just not great. That's why you don't know about it. You don't know about it for a reason. I'll tell you one you need to watch because you like all types of music. Have you seen Roadie? Meatloaf, Roadie?
I have not.
It's a movie called Roadie.
No, I hadn't either.
Meatloaf is the star of the movie. He's the world's greatest roadie, Travis W. Redfish. It's got Hank Jr. in it. It's got Alice Cooper as the main character. Anyway, it's crazy, but it's from the 80 or 81. It's called Roadie. It's about a roadie. And anyway, it's good. It's good. Meatloaf is the star. You gotta check that out.
All
There's
right.
your one. Can you see all this stuff beside me? Look, you reckon I like some Hank?
Oh, I see it.
There's my drive-by truckers up there.
Talk to me about some of this
Truckers.
stuff. This is amazing.
See up there, there's my granddad up there I was talking about. got the
Oh,
tinted
so
glasses
good.
on in the picture.
Yeah, he does.
You know what I mean?
Hell yeah, he does. You need a Trans Am up there at the top just to go with it. Why not?
These are just all tour laminates from over the years.
Oh man, yeah.
Anyway, it's some Wayne stuff, John Party. My buddy, I've somehow become friends with Diamond Dallas Page, one of my heroes. He's a real guy. He's a great dude.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
You're
man.
friends
You and
with DDP?
And he is.
Oh, dude, they're like buddies. Like you're doing his workouts
Yeah,
and all
I did
that
it
stuff.
this morning. That's my boy. We talk on the reg still. Yeah, Dallas is a great human being. Just a good guy. Yep, DDP. Yeah, he's a country music fan. He's a music fan in general.
I follow him on his social media stuff. Like he has some really amazing TikToks.
Yeah.
Very motivational.
Oh, dude.
And doing his workout program and stuff like that. I mean, he seems like he'd be a good dude. I mean, just laser focused and all, but he just seems like he's a good,
Incredible,
good guy.
man. I can't say enough good stuff about him. And his program works, DDPY. I did it this morning. I did a lower back thing because I got 2 blown discs. That's how we got to catch it when we first met and we became buddies. And he'll text me, hey, checking in. Hey, any updates? How you feeling? I mean, he's just a good friend. I mean, just a really good friend. And yeah, he's 64 years old and in better shape than any of our buddies.
Hey, what's that other band that you had? So it was after Wayne Mills.
Southern Hauler was after Wayne Mills. And see, yeah, by the time I got to Troy, like we were saying earlier, after discovering Hank Jr. in high school, it was still a lot of rock and roll stuff, but it was the main songs you knew off the radio. Then when I got to Troy, it got deep cuts. That's when I started hanging out with Wydell, and I'd be like, "What's this song?" He go, "I wish Buck was still silver." And then we'd go down long Merle Haggard roads or long, deep Hank Jr. cuts.
Oh my
So
God!
I loved it. Like all of it, I loved it. And I kind of got out of some during that era and got into others like the jam band stuff. And because I learned deeper Allman Brothers cuts and deeper Skinner cuts through Cadwell and Hal and just different buddies. Yeah. And then by the time I got with Wayne, I was pretty eat up with a lot of it, so it didn't take much inspiration. And he liked all kinds of stuff, so we were Hank Jr. and he was a big, Guy Clark, Robert Earl Keen, John Prine. So I'm all in that, but we're also, we would listen. Just whatever. It didn't matter. Everything. So that kind of led to.
That's awesome.
Well, that makes sense of how you would kind of you were molded in southern,
Yeah, and
just southernness.
And when Wayne, we would go on the road, like to Texas or off somewhere, we were doing a lot of shows with Red Dirt artists, early Red Dirt artists like Cross Canadian Ragweed, Jason Bowl and the Stragglers, Kevin Fowler, Roger Krieger, Blue Edmondson. We were doing shows with these acts that were that west of the Mississippi type, and these big draws over there in the Texas scene. So we were doing a lot of shows with them, so I was exposed to a lot of that, and that was kind of what's merged with country now. It's kind of where it's at with a lot of that, and I ate it up too. I couldn't wait. I loved all that stuff. I loved it. So then I'm going back listening to Robert Earl Keen early stuff, and
Wayne Mills, man. So, dude, that guy, and I won't bring up a bad subject here, but I mean, that guy's in prison,
correct,
right?
Yes.
They killed
correct.
him. Yeah, that's
Sad.
awful. Yeah, I remember watching that, following that, and
Whoa. I don't know, and this won't go out, but Chad has teased me. He and I talked about you in like one of the first ones that we did. He was just, mentioning you and then that you had been with Wayne Mills, who I had not ever heard of because I'm from Louisiana, of course not. But it sounds like if there's albums, I want to hear it.
Wait, but we did, when I was with Wayne Mills, we played extensively all through the Southeast. Yeah, we played all over Baton Rouge. We played Tiger Town before games. Oh, yeah, we'd be at, was it JL's over there? We played it when the Mellow Mushroom, when Dave Bruno and those guys owned the Mellow Mushroom down there. We used to play there. That was kind of our circuit, was part of our circuit through there. Hal Bruni and the High Rollers, one of Wayne's dear friends from Morgan City. Scotty Van Matry, the Social Drinkers. We had a bunch of buddies from town that were local guys from around there that were in that scene that we ran with, because that's some of the first shows I did with Wayne. That would have been like 02, 03, I guess, right about now. Was going down there to South Louisiana and then doing shows, like that. But yeah, that was he was. We got around. And the music was good. I mean, it was redneck hippie music. It was great.
It was great.
Sounds.
I loved it. I love some Wayne Mills.
But he unfortunately about 10 years ago now. It actually will be 10 years ago this fall. Was killed, unfortunately, after hours at a party like we were talking about, like the one I met him at. It was at a bar in Nashville. It was closed for after hours for just guests only, and the owner of the bar, for whatever reason, shot Wayne and killed him. And that was the night of the George Jones tribute concert. It was after that, and there was a bunch of heavy hitters hanging out and stuff, and it was a big thing. And it was kind of a big old mess at first. Wow. It was a bunch of misinformation and this and that, But yeah, then Wayne passed a couple of day or two later after that, and left behind his wife, Carol Ann, who's awesome, like a sister to me, one of my best friends in the world, and a son, Jack, who's 16 now, who is awesome guy. I mean, I can't say enough about how good this kid is. I want to hug his neck so bad right now. He's so awesome. He's a great guitar player now. He's a great football player. They live in Nolensville, Tennessee. He's a good ball player. He's a Roll Tide guy like me. But he's a yes sir, yes ma'am, good to his mama, and just come out great kid, just everything the right way. And after Wayne passed, a friend of ours, Jason Cope, by the name Rowdy, was a guitar player for Jamie Johnson when we first met, and then ended up producing some of Wayne's records and playing some with him, and went on to play with the Steelwoods, rock and roll Southern rock band now. And he became Jack's guitar teacher during the years following Wayne's death, and got, along with some other teachers around where he's at, but got Jack to be a really good little guitar player. And I think he's going to be great one day for sure. But then unfortunately during COVID, not due to COVID, but Rowdy passed away, and he's like our age, some stuff with some underlying health issues. So even through all that, still a rock star. Like I said, can't say enough, but that would have been almost 10 years ago now. And everywhere I go, nobody ever has a bad thing. Everybody misses him. I'll meet random people at big wig hotshot parties and bring up where I'm from, and somehow to turn on Wayne. We're talking about Wayne Mills. It happens every weekend.
Wow.
Not one weekend on the road. Might not be every night, but damn close to it. At least once a weekend I have a conversation with somebody about Wayne Mills. I mean, just never fails.
So he was so connected to the music industry, and I would think that would be why he crossed paths with everybody. Sounds like he was a grinder.
Oh yeah.
He grinded.
We'd play with the band boys Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday. And then they'd take off back to Tuscaloosa, and we'd get in his truck or mine and go play a couple days, stay there and play a night at the Floribama, and then take off to Macon and to somewhere to Nashville to back to, wherever, Memphis, to meet the band guys on Thursday, and then go play a frat house at Ole Miss, and then go to Athens and play a frat house, and then go back to Florida, play a Sunday afternoon. The band would go home, we'd stay there. That was the way it was. And Wayne was just a friend to everybody. He was just a sweetheart. He was a big old teddy bear. He was just a open. Come hang out. Loved hanging out with everybody. He was just awesome, and taught me a lot about. I would definitely not be here today if it wasn't for him and a lot of the guys I met in his band and Crue and stuff over those years. And then after that, his drummer at the time, David Gulliver, and I started Southern Hauler, a classic rock, country type cover band with some other guys from Tuscaloosa. And then that turned in one thing, that lasted for several years. And the final incarnation of that. And we would play a lot of places too. Same thing. We would play like downtown Baton Rouge. See, what I do is we'd play there on a Friday night. Then Saturday, I'd have some good money gig lined up to play under the PMAC before a basketball or football game or something. Right when you walk in the PMAC,
okay.
The Voodoo restaurant would set up the thing on the top, and then they'd have a stage underneath. We would play that a couple times a year. So I would route.
Okay.
I'd route a good money date with a couple of club dates where potentially, if it's a good night, we can make some money. But no matter what, we're going to go here and get enough to get there and home.
Sure.
Stuff like that. But
did Southern Hauler have anything to do with John Party's band? I thought
the last incarnation of Southern Hauler, we all ended up going to work for John, and that's when Southern Hauler ended. We went on the road. We all worked for John.
So that's how you kind of hooked up with John Party.
Bass player and guitar player, and met him first. Then they brought me in the loop, and I had the van. And actually, it's a funny story. The first weekend baby. He offered me to go to work, I turned him down because I'd already had plans to do something with I think it was with Grice, something, his bachelor party or something. But I'd already made some kind of commitment or wedding or something. I'd made some kind of commitment to where I wasn't going to go with them that weekend. And they got a friend of ours, Joe, to go, who was new to the game. But he went anyway. They took my van, and I'd already been on the road with the band guys, not John yet. So after they got back, I asked them, how'd it go? And they say, "Oh man, we made him do all the stuff you'd never let us do." He was an idiot. He left all the merch one night at the gig. All these horror stories. I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, So the next week,
sounds like you need some JR direction here.
Yeah, he needed handling.
So then next week I went out with him, and then that was it. And then he went through managers there in a minute. We didn't have a manager for a sec, but he was a baby act when we first met. But I knew the first time I was in our old drummer Howie Adams' basement and heard him rehearsing, I knew this kid was going to be as big a star as he wanted to be, barring any interruptions, which happen all the time. As long as nothing happens, he should be fine. And I knew it, because you never know. It could be health, it could be personal stuff, it could be just industry. You just never know. It could be one person being spiteful. You just never know. You say the wrong thing. You just never know nowadays. So, like I said, barring any interruptions, I knew he was going to be a big old star. And then once I met John and got to talking and realized, he was a real cowboy. And he was eat up with me. He didn't even play sports growing up. He just played karaoke. He just wanted to be George Strait, White Yoke.
Okay.
That's all he was. And rope stuff because George Strait did,
He's the real deal.
Well, he's
not a plowboy, he's a cowboy, huh?
He's from Northern California. I wouldn't say he's like a full, he didn't ride rodeo and stuff growing up, but that's his interest. He wanted to sing music was his number one, which involved the rodeo lifestyle, which he's gotten really good. He always dabbled with, but he's gotten really good at all that. He's into all that. But he grew up in Northern California out on big land. I didn't even know that. Comes from where we come from. I thought California was rollerblading and bikinis on the beach. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So we go up there to Northern California, and it's 9,000 acre deer ranch. And I'm like,
oh wow,
stuff like
kind of like being out in West Texas.
Well, it was one of the most remote places I'd ever been as far as survival, outside of being like way down in South Louisiana, out at least somewhere where you're going 2 hours down the bayous to get out to some place to a camp that's a shack with a generator.
Oh yeah,
because out there we're in these. We go get off the main road. We're down a gravel road for 45 minutes, then we're on a dirt road for literally 2 hours. And it's in these Jeeps zigzagging up these mountains with little roads, and there's no water. You got to pack in and pack out. It was a while. And I thought, man, if you're not prepared, you're not going to make it. Same with down in Louisiana. You go out to that camp.
Yeah.
If you don't have a boat, you're not going home. You're not swimming home. You ain't walking home. There ain't no way to go home.
That's
it's just not going to happen. So
right.
it was an eye-opening experience. Yeah, he was really into that. He wasn't into any. He didn't. He liked sports, but most of that band was kind of that way. They were really in about the music. They were really into it, and it.
So they were focused on. They sounds like they knew
Yeah.
where they wanted to get to, and obviously, it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, we had to
It
grind.
worked out pretty well.
Yeah,
for
we had to
them.
grind hard, and it paid off. And that's usually what happens.
For them and for you, JR. It's so funny back in college. I remember after college, I should say, you were telling me what you were doing. And, dude, you just stayed committed. You were persistent. I'd see you at homecoming. I'd see you, we'd talk, once every year or two. And it was like, man, this guy is absolutely dialed in, and this is what he's doing. And then, dude, it all happened for you. And, dude, it's funny. I look at people and, you get older and you have this perspective. You look back and it's like, you're one of those people, though, brother, that, like, like you were passionate. This is what you wanted to do. You set your mind to it. And it's like, I was watching that McDonald's, what's it called? The fast food about the McDonald's story, right? On
Founder.
Netflix. I've seen it I've seen it a few years ago, and I watched it again the other night. And it's funny. It kind of reminds me of you, though, like in a way, like you were just like, you put your head down and you're like, by God, this is what I'm doing. Like, no matter what you were doing, you just kept driving in, and here you are, brother. I mean, you have arrived. I mean, you've done what I think people now have degrees to do what you do, right? Like, and specifically,
Yeah, it's funny. I've actually gave a few little talks here or there to classes and stuff. You know what I mean? And Zoom,
dude, you've got all the damn lessons. Like,
yeah, and I got lucky too when I came in. I got to work with the class above me, and some legends to follow under, and they didn't just push me. They were open instead of just, and because I came in cool. I always knew that, man. You got to be cool. That was part of it. Just like you said, just be persistent, hang in there, be cool. I kind of figured something would always work out. I always had a construction background, but let's just be honest. That's just tough for me. I just made my dad and I are just different.
Especially on that back, that back would not be happy right now.
And it's just like we're saying earlier, lean to your strong suits. And that's kind of I always knew from early on with Wayne and them. Somebody needed to have this stuff. We'd be riding down the road, and he'd need something. I'd just reach in the back of my bag, and I'd already have it. I just kind of knew, kind of instincts what you need to keep going. It's kind of the same way.
Had the van, will travel.
Is that where the moniker of the handler comes from? It sounds like you're Johnny on the spot.
Well,
you're ready. You're the handler. You got it. You're ready to go.
Some days are better than others, but when if you set low expectations and over deliver every now and then, it makes you look good. But
it works out.
But no, yeah, that came from those days. We had a friend in Tuscaloosa named Sweet Dog, Craig Pickering, who was the drummer, and we called him the Midnight Mayor. He was just a local legend there. He had worked with all those artists out of Fat Possum Records, the old blues guys, and he was just like a music Yoda. And he was the drummer for the Dexatines and well respected all throughout the indie rock type world in that day. But they called him the Fixer. So one day, Gulliver, I think, or Wayne One said, well, if he's the fixer, you're the handler. And that's kind of where it stuck. That was it.
That was it, huh?
Wow. That's perfect.
Because Sweet Dog could fix anything, and I could handle it. So, but
I got my handler shirt on.
Yeah, I have to plug myself there. I started that because all my buddies said, you ought to have a shirt with your logo and this and that. But jrthehandler.com is, I try to keep up better now with engaging and stuff. Look at that. I love it. Looks good on Blasi.
It's
all
so
stretched
pretty,
out when I wear it.
We'll get it back. Here we go.
Yeah, me too, JR.
I wear this shirt at least once a week, minimum. It's in the rotation. It's in the high rotation. I have a high rotation rack, and I have a lower rotation rack. It's in the high rotation rack.
He wore it in the very first Tigs Bits podcast, in fact, because I'm like, what the hell's this shirt about? I love it, but what is this shirt about? And that's how you came up in our conversation.
And that picture was taken out of Justin's Why We Drink video. He and I were doing a bunch of riding in a Jeep that day, a Roxor, and somehow they clipped that out. And my guy that does T-shirts and stuff for me in Arkansas put that together and made the logo. And then I was like, man, I got to use this on a shirt, so it worked out pretty good. But that's where that came from, was that video, and that's. You talking about John? I've been in a couple of John's music videos, and I've been in a couple of Justin's music videos, and a couple of those. That's always fun.
A couple of those at the Floribama, right?
Yeah. John's last one was Tequila Time, or one of his last ones, Tequila Time. That was at the Floribama, and then Justin's recent one, we went up to Nashville and did it. You, Me, and Whiskey that he does with Priscilla Block's a new song we got out. It's in the mid-30s right now. It's rocking, great tune. Yeah. And Priscilla's awesome. Talking about people you're going to know about. Priscilla's good. She's really good. She legit is. She's from North Carolina. She TikTok star, whatever, but that girl's got the right. She's got the chops. She got stage presence. She's gonna be a big. Like I said again, barring no interruption, she'll be a big old star.
So you were talking about JR. You were talking about music videos when we were leaving, and you were saying the most recent one you did was with Priscilla Block and Justin Moore in that video.
Oh yeah, I had a sliver of camera time in that. I was the bartender in one scene and a bar scene there. Just got me hat down in a pearl snap, but I made the cut. It's about as long as I was when Justin did the Home Sweet Home, the cover of the Motley Crue song. We got to hang out with the Crue one day in Nashville and do the video for that. Same thing as Vince is going on stage. I'm right there. I think I give my thumbs up. And then one other time I'm walking out of behind Justin and it clips me for like a second. Then they turn the camera away. But hey, I'm in there.
JR, we've got to slow down. We got to slow down for a second. Now we've Motley Crue. I mean, I wasn't expecting this to come up. But, I mean, Motley Crue is, as far as I'm concerned, royalty to me. I mean, that was that talking about the soundtrack of your life, that Motley Crue takes me back to the Dr. Feelgood album. I mean, I'd listened to some of their stuff then, but, you know, me and my buddy are making camcorder videos, every song on that tape at the time, the tape, not a CD. Man, I freaking love Dr. Feelgood and love them. I've seen Motley Crue in concert probably 7 or 8 times since they came back in the early 2000s, 2002, right. 3, whenever that was. But yeah, how were they? Like, was Vince nice? Were they nice? Were they?
Oh yeah, totally cool. Couldn't have been cooler, man. Yeah, they totally cool. Vince cool as hell. Nikki cool. Tommy cool.
Was Mick alive? No, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but he bad shape though. You know, you could tell he wasn't feeling too spry, but he did what he needed to do. And they were cool about everything. Yeah, we were outside and were just hanging. And it was just normal, cool. And then throughout the day they were fine. They couldn't have been cooler. Like I said, Mick, you could tell he didn't feel too sporty. The other guys were cool. They're like, when they had to do a playing scene, they get their girlfriends, that were their girlfriends that were all named like Rain and Forest, and they had one those kind of names. And they were all super cool too.
Ocean.
Yeah, but they would hold some of their jewelry and stuff while they played, and they get off, put their jewelry back on. They were rock star the whole time. I mean, it's the damn Crue. What I mean? It's rock star.
Hell
but it turns out we stayed in touch because Vince came out and did a few spots with us at different shows. Would jump on stage and sing the song with Justin. So we got to hang out several times with Vince. And after that, my wife, she likes country. She's more of Alan Jackson, Reba. She likes that era. But she loves, the hairband stuff and the Crue and that type stuff. So when they played New Orleans a few years ago, we were on the road, and I got her tickets and her friend to go see the Crue in the family section through Vince, and that's pretty cool. So that's where country music's paying dividends.
I was most likely at that show because I saw them every time they played New Orleans. So, yeah. Was it the one where Tommy went out over the crowd? What, the last tour with the roller coaster? It was the last one.
Thing? Yeah, I think so. And Alice Cooper opened, and she really said she liked Alice Cooper as much as
kicked ass.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. She wasn't really fully aware of Alice Cooper till that night, but I was like, oh yeah, It's a weird world that he's opening for them,
this is happening.
Like this,
crazy.
You swap this. They've opened for him before. This is probably just because he wants to get on and be done. But yeah, so it was. He had a great time. So that's one. It worked out. Something. I got a perk for her. But yeah, they were super cool.
They shooting down a balloon over there, Blasi? What's happening?
That is some big time. So they dropped these bombs about 20 miles north of me. Mm-hmm. And I dropped one the other day on the PyCap thread there. I don't know if y'all heard it, but it absolutely, my doors on my house, like, they come in. Like, wow. They can. I can't imagine being in a war zone and these bombs dropping, like, and being close. And it's like 25 miles away.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm sure they're doing some kind of night reconnaissance thing tonight, practicing
we get
something.
That,
they just
we
came
get that over
the top
here.
of the house.
We get that over here sometimes. I know the other week nobody could confirm what it was. It had to be something like that. And we do get because I live in Gulf Shores, Alabama. I live down here near Pensacola. So we get a lot of the sonic boom from the jets when they hit it by and stuff. But we had one the other week that was definitely, everybody thought it was an earthquake. I think it was blowing something up somewhere.
So, JR, you live in there. You're affiliated in some form or fashion with the Floribama.
Yeah, that was where Wayne, that's one of our big strongholds when I was with Wayne, and it was like home to come down to the coast and play, and they were just always, it was a real artist-friendly commune type place at the Bama, and it always has been. I've always worked, every act I've ever worked with played there at least once. And I still work there from time to time. One of our fraternity brothers is the general manager. Another one of our fraternity brothers is the entertainment director. I'm, most of the legends there I met through Wayne. So I and the new guys I know through what I do now and stuff. So it's still like second base. I mean, I technically work there. Like I'm on the roster. I have a number to go clock in and stuff, but I'm like special forces. Again, like I said earlier, I under commit and over perform, so I'll they ain't expecting me, but if I do show up, they're glad to see me,
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense.
You have figured
really
out
does.
life, it's what it's about, what I mean?
They do more national acts and bigger stuff with the radio station. So a lot of times if it's a weekday something and they've got a national act coming in to do an acoustic thing or some fundraiser or something, I'll go over there and help facilitate kind of some of that stuff to make sure they're all good.
That is seriously might be the coolest bar in America. I've been to a ton of bars. You've been to way more than I have, JR, but it is so unique in the sense it's like you got people from 18 to 80. You know what I mean? Like all hanging out in the same place, having the same amount of fun, and it's like just the most unique place I've ever been in my life.
And as long as you don't act like a complete idiot, you're good.
That's it.
As long as you don't act like you can have a great. As long as you don't act like a complete idiot, there's plenty to do. You can have all day great fun. Yeah, there's not many. I've been to a bunch.
I've never had a bad night in there. Never, ever.
Legendary.
It's been great. So anyway, little plug for the Floor Bama.
Yes,
folks,
God bless the Floor Bama.
Yeah,
y'all come see me. When I'm off, my wife and I, we hang out there. We still do stuff. I just pop in from time to time to eat. I get my employee discounts. About the only place I can afford to eat oysters down here these days. All these tourist prices.
That's right.
Yeah. And by the way, while we're on PSAs here, shitter's full down here, boys and girls. Ain't nothing else to buy in South Baldwin County. We're good. We're good. Give it a break. We're good. We're full up.